Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
The first question and the most obvious that comes to everybody's mind, who is the Lord of Rings? So who actually is the Lord of the Flies? So Lord of the Flies, if you remember, was basically the head of the pig that Jack, Roger and the hunters had mounted on a sharp stick, and they left it as an offering to the beast. Now that head was described as dripping blood, and that head, the Lord of the Rings or the head of the pig, actually spoke and warned Simon about the presence of beast that was going to ruin the entire island. So the Lord of the Flies suggested to Simon that the boys are going to be responsible for their own end. Simon, who was hallucinating at that time, was basically not able to understand anything, and he became unconscious thereon. Later on, Roger and Jack, they decided that they were going to hunt and kill Ralph, and they also decided to do the same and offer the same to the beast. So basically, the Lord of the Flies represents the evil that is there inside each one of us, and with respect to the novel, it represents the evil that is there inside each of the boys on the island. Now, what is the conch and what does it symbolize? So, what does the conch symbolize? Conch was basically a white shell, and when the animal dies, that shell is used by the trumpet for blowing. Now, in this story, we saw that this conch was used to call meetings and also to decide who was going to speak, because whosoever had the conch was going to reside over the meeting. So in this way, we can say that conch symbolized democracy and speech. Anyone who held the conch could speak. Anyone who had the conch was supposed to be listened to, and the others had to wait for their turns to speak, only and only if they had the conch with them. Now, the fact that the conch can easily be broken, it signaled that with the breaking of the conch, the entire civilization will come to an end. It represents that democracy is also very fragile. You need everybody's support to run a democracy. How does Simon die? We saw it, we read it. That after Simon had that hallucinating interaction with the Lord of the Flies, Simon discovered the body of the parachutist on the top of the mountain and realized that the boys mistook the dead body of the parachutist for a beast. When he came down to inform the boys about the same, the boys had already lost their senses and were chanting and dancing around the fire in frenzy. When Simon appeared so that he would tell them the reality of the beast, the boys mistook him to be a beast himself, attacked him and killed. Later, Piggy tried to deny that he and Ralph were involved in Simon's murder, but Ralph insisted on acknowledging that, though unwillingly, reluctantly, but they were a part of the crime. Now, why does Jack start his own tribe? We have read about Jack that he loved power. He loved to be in dominance. So he wanted to be a leader ever since the beginning. But sooner and later, when the tensions began to increase between Jack and Ralph, we saw that they had started to argue and fight openly. Ralph would continue to joke about the Jack and his troop who had sticks in their hands, and Jack also called Ralph as a coward and questioned his leadership skills. He insisted that Ralph was a coward and that he was a better leader. but nobody else agreed to the same because he decided to have a revote whether they wanted Ralph to be taken down from the position of the leader or not, and nobody cast their vote to that. So Ralph continued to be the leader. Jack, on having been insulted and frustrated out of the wits, he started crying and he decided to have a tribe of his own, the tribe that promised hunting, eating meat, and having fun. And soon the two tribes actually were at quits with each other. So, do the boys get rescued from the island? Yes, we saw that at the end the boys did get rescued from the, island. Although, ever since the beginning of the story, Ralph insisted on the importance of starting a fire to act as a signal for the passing ships. Ultimately, at the end, we saw it was not Ralph's fire, but the fire that was started by Jack that attracted a ship towards them. Now, Ralph was trying to hide in the forest, and Jack, along with his entire tribe, was running behind him. As soon as Ralph came ashore, he saw a Navy officer, and that is when the Navy officer saved Ralph from being murdered by Jack. And that is how they were rescued. Why is Ralph chosen to be the chief? So Ralph was chosen to be the chief because he was the one who used a conch to call out the meeting of all the boys who were stranded on the island. Though this suggestion was given by Piggy, it was Ralph who then organized the boys and suggested that they need a leader so that things can take place smoothly. He was chosen because, he seemed to be more sensible and powerful to the other boys. And the boys thought that Ralph had the instinct of being a natural leader, and they associated Ralph with civilization, and that is how they made Ralph to be their leader. Why does Jack think he should be the chief? As I told you, Jack always believed himself to be superior and more dominating and powerful to the other boys, specifically Ralph. He obviously considered himself to be a hunter, and throughout the story we've read that Jack was a savage beast. He was never inclined towards civilization, rather wanted things to be bad and brutal and violent. Why are Piggy's glasses important? Piggy's glasses were important because it was because of Piggy's glasses that they were able to light a signal fire that would help them get rescued. Later on, the glasses were used by Jack's group also to light fire for, roasting the pig's meat that they were killing. And at the end, the glasses represented the power of fire because that person, if you remember, Ralph along with Piggy and Sam and Eric came to that fort, to that rock castle to get back Piggy's eyeglasses, because for them those glasses represented the power of fire. They needed fire and therefore they needed the glasses. And when Jack broke and stole Piggy's glasses, it again led further. The boys were led further into the trap of savage. Who was the first boy to die on the island? It was one of the little ones. As we read, he had a birthmark on half of his face, and he was the first boy who indicated the presence of a beast, a snake-like thing on the island, when nobody believed him. The first time when the boys tried to start the fire on the top of the mountain, that fire increased to the forest, and after that, that little boy was never seen again. Why does Jack hate Ralph? So, ever since the beginning, Jack wanted to be the leader of the chief of the entire tribe, but the other boys chose Ralph, and that is when the tension between Ralph and Jack increased so much. Later on, we saw a huge difference in the opinions of both Ralph and Jack, where Ralph was more into civilization, Jack wanted savagery. Jack was into hunting, and Ralph insisted on building shelters for one another. So, the discrepancy, the opposite mindsets always force them to argue with each other, and by the end, we saw how they ended up, how Jack was behind Ralph's life. He wanted to kill Ralph. What is the beast in the story? So, of course, the little uns had used the word beast to represent an unknown creature that probably existed on that island inside the forest that they were afraid of. First, it was a snake like thing, and then that dead pilot who fell down from, with his parachute was assumed to be the beast. But actually, the beast was within themselves, as we have read. It was neither the snake, it was neither the parachutist, so there wasn't any beast that existed in physical form on that island. What does Simon want to tell the boys? So, what was it that Simon wanted to tell the boys before he died? So, before dying, Simon wanted to tell the boys the truth about the beast. He wanted to tell the boys that the parachutist, the person who on the mountain top was assumed to be a beast by them, was actually a dead pilot. But after this episode, obviously, Simon, when he came as a messenger to inform the other boys about the truth, about the reality of the beast, he was killed before the news could be delivered. And with this, my dear students, we come to the end of this story, Lord of Flies by William Golding. We've discussed the detailed summary of the entire story, the theme, the character sketches, as well as the important questions. I hope the story was clear to you.